and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. Okay, I want to talk about the Supreme Court and what the hell they're doing. You know, the President of the United States does not answer to judges, okay? He does not, the President of the United States, whoever they are, they don't have oversight from a bunch of men and women in robes that may not even have anything on underneath the robes, okay? I mean, these are strange people. And there's an arrogance with these federal judges that they are the final say, and it's a bunch of nonsense, okay? And the Supreme Court have really taken part in what I would consider to be a coup of the presidency, perhaps even an insurrection of the presidency. Let me read through this story. It's being widely reported. This is from the Daily Mail. Supreme Court blocks migrant deportations as Trump pushes presidential powers to the brink. Now, keep in mind, the United States of America in the last 4 years was invaded by over 20 million illegals from all over the world. Many of them part of organized violent gangs that have been designated terrorist groups, okay? So the president is oath-bound to protect the United States and its citizens from enemies, foreign and domestic. So repelling an enemy army of barbarians certainly falls within his presidential powers. Here's the article. The Supreme Court has temporarily blocked Donald Trump from deporting alleged Venezuelan gangsters being held in Texas. In a brief order made in the early hours of Saturday, today, the court directed the Trump administration not to remove Venezuelans held at the Blue Bonnet Detention Center until further order of this court. Well, screw them. They're not running the country. He should just do it. What are they going to do? Two conservative justices, Clarence Thomas and Alito, dissented. The High Court acted in an emergency appeal from the American Civil Liberties Union, all right, the ACLU. Contending that immigration authorities appeared to be moving to restart removals under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Yeah, they're not co-presidents. These judges are outlaws. They're insurrectionists. They're coup conspirators is exactly what they are. The Supreme Court said earlier this month that deportations could proceed only if those about to be removed had a chance to argue their case in court. Now, they got like 20 million. They're going to have 20 million court cases? And were given a reasonable time to contest their pending removals. Well, screw that. Send them back. Let them appeal from the El Salvadorian terrorist prisons. The last-minute order came as the alleged thugs were recently moved to the detention center in Anson, around 200 miles north of the Mexican border, sparking panic from their scumbucket lawyers. It doesn't say scumbucket in the Daily Mail. I added that. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. Trump is trying to deport the alleged gangsters under the 18th century Alien Enemies Act. Okay, now this whole thing, oh, well, 18th century. The whole Constitution, the Constitution is 18th century, okay? Give me a break. The Declaration of Independence is 18th century. So this idea, well, that's the 18th century, it doesn't apply. Our whole country's founding documents are 18th century documents. The 18th century Alien Enemies Act, which allows the president to deport enemies in time of war. It has only been used a few times in history and was last used against Japanese prisoners in World War II. The Supreme Court's early hours order is the latest setback for Trump, who was cautioned by Chief Justice John Roberts in a highly unusual intervention last month. Now, John Roberts is a bad dude. He's part of the secret underground government. He has this special secret eyes wide shut group of judges that Boasberg is a part of. He's one of the most evil men in America. Roberts, a conservative, warned Trump against threatening judges with impeachment after the president launched public attacks against Boasberg. Oh, so the president can't say what he wants to say? The Chief Justice believes that he can rule on the president's First Amendment rights? See how out of control this guy is? All right. Judge Boasberg ordered halts on deportation flights of Venezuelans bound for El Salvador. The latest dispute centers on dozens of Venezuelans held in Texas. Lawyers for the ACLU filed urgent requests on Friday in multiple courts, including the Supreme Court, urging immediate action after reporting that some of the men had already been loaded onto buses and were told they were going to be deported. The ACLU said the rapid developments were not affording the men a realistic opportunity to contest their removal, as the Supreme Court had required. Well, screw the Supreme Court. They have no authority here. None. What do you guys think? Does the Supreme Court have supervisory authority over the President of the United States? Yes or no? What do you guys think? The judges are completely out of control. And of course they don't. During a Friday hearing, a government lawyer said he was unaware of plans by Homeland Security to deport the men on Friday, but there could be deportations on Saturday. Elected last year on a promise to crack down on migrants, that's the illegal invaders, Trump invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act in an attempt to swiftly deport accused members of Tren de Agua, a criminal gang that the Trump administration labels a terrorist group. That's right, they are a terrorist organization, official policy of the U.S. now. The president and his senior aides have asserted their executive power grants them wide authority on immigration matters, testing the balance of power between the branches of government. The branches are not co-equal. That's total bullshit, okay? Okay? There are three branches of government, and they have very separate powers, and none of them are as powerful as the chief executive, the president of the United States. He has an Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine, Space Force, Coast Guard, and all kinds of nuclear arsenals, all kinds of things at his authority. And he has incredible powers through executive authority. These other branches are not co-equal. They're just a bunch of self-important assholes. They're part of the establishment, CIA, NSA, deep state, Bilderberg, Harvard, Yale, Oxford school of let's control the world of globalists. And Donald Trump's not a part of their club. They don't have control over him. And what Donald Trump has been doing in his second term is destroying the globalist. And it's causing all kinds of problems for them. I don't need an atheist to tell me jack, okay? I'm not interested in anything an atheist has to say, especially the day before Easter. So, you know. All right, so let's see here. I lost my place. Trump scored one victory on Friday when an appeals court put on hold a threat by Boasberg, that's that one corrupt judge, of contempt charges. Boasberg denied an ACLU request to block Trump from deporting suspected members of Tren de Agua, citing an April 7th SCOTUS ruling that allowed Trump to use the Alien Enemies Act with certain limits. Judge Boasberg said he was concerned the government would deport additional people as soon as Saturday. Well, I'm glad he's concerned. Now go fuck yourself, okay? I mean, you know, what's going on in this country is insane. We've been invaded with the cooperation of Joe Biden, but we were invaded nonetheless by barbarian murderers and rapists and psycho criminals, and they've got to go. And President Trump should stand up to these jerks in robes. While one hearing played out in Boasberg's court, the ACLU worked on a separate track to halt deportations of Venezuelans held in Texas. So what's this complete bullshit thing that every time the president tells somebody to turn on a light in the White House, some lawyer goes to some Biden or Obama federal judge and they say, you can't turn off that light. You can't turn on that light. I'm a judge and I've ruled. Give me a break. ACLU lawyers filed with the Supreme Court after failing to get a rapid response from a U.S. District Judge in Abilene, Texas, and a 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans to block any such deportations. So they were in multiple courts all over the country trying to get one court to agree with them. The ACLU said, who cares what the ACLU... Now, the ACLU is running the country now? The ACLU said the men had been handed forms indicating they were classified as members of Trinidad de Agua. At issue was whether the Trump administration has fulfilled the Supreme Court standards. Oh, my goodness. These people are out of their minds. They have lost touch with reality. They really, truly have lost touch with reality. But you know what? Trump's going to win this. He's going to do the right thing. It's really scary that so many people in this country think that a couple of hundred federal judges are the real government, the real president. That they've got this team of judges, federal judges from the Supreme Court on down to those district federal courts, and they're the true presidents. Give me a break. Never heard of such a thing. Yeah. You know, all the checks and balances and all this is liberal bullshit that they teach kids in school that's not true. You know, this separate but equal and all this crap, none of that's true. You know, those are liberal lies that people have been brainwashed into thinking. We have 3 branches of government that have incredibly separate powers. Yeah, I'm going to be on Newsmax tonight and tomorrow, if you want to look for me there. That's right. If you're new to my channel, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. And, you know, we've also got the military-industrial complex is putting tremendous pressure on Trump, which he's not falling victim to, but they're trying to get Trump to start the Third World War with Iran. They know Ukraine-Russia's winding down, so they're trying to start another operation and try to get Trump to authorize the bombing of Iran. I tell you, this military-industrial complex, how many wars have they lied and pressured presidents into? Mm-hmm. Yep. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. All of them. Pretty much. Pretty much. Yep. It's not set up the way that you've been taught. The judges in the Congress do not have oversight over the president. They're not his supervisor. The president does not report to them. You know, the example I was given is as an example. Let's say Trump ordered an airstrike of Iran over the nuclear, which is well within his authority. Could some federal judge or the Supreme Court come in and say you can't do that? Of course not. That's ridiculous. There's no denials of Jesus allowed on my channel. I'm sorry. I'm not going to take part in that. Oh, yeah. Tariffs are a beautiful thing. President Trump's trying to end the income taxes and run the country through tariffs. That sounds like a good idea to me. I just had to send a check off this week to pay my taxes, my income taxes. and it sucks. I could have used that money to buy a new car with. It's a nice day here in Florida, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah, tomorrow is not just Easter, it's also my birthday. Ukraine and Russia are both the aggressors in that war. Zelensky was trying to start a war. No. Well, not if you buy a car made in the United States, then there's no tariffs. And you know, President Trump, he showed in the Oval Office yesterday the tattoo of this so-called fake Maryland man with the gang tats on his fingers. Did you guys see this? I mean, that's when you've got the MS-13 tattoos on your fingers, that's a confession that you're an MS-13. Yes, I don't know if my birthday's fallen on Easter. I don't remember it falling on Easter before. Maybe it has. Because it's always around that time of year. I don't know. Well, thank you, guys. I'll have a new podcast today. Don't miss that. And then tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on the YouTube channel here, I'm debuting the video from our MAGA cruise, and there'll be a live chat. So make sure you're in there for that tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. No, I mean, the Supreme Court and these other federal judges have no authority to supervise the president in his actions as commander-in-chief to repel enemy invaders from our country. That's crazy. I mean, if Canada invaded us tomorrow and he was repelling the Canadians, could the Supreme Court say you can't repel the invading Canadians? I guess, you know. What happens if he doesn't listen to the Supreme Court and say, I don't recognize their authority over me. I'm repelling enemy invaders. Yeah. Oh, the judges are definitely toxic. Thank you guys for the happy birthdays. Appreciate it. What's wrong with SCOTUS? You know, these people are part of the deep state establishment. That's what it is. You know, you don't become a federal judge unless you're, you know, connected to the powers that be. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk, all right? Now, I'm pretty disgusted by it. Pretty disgusted by it. And, you know, I like how Van Hollen's saying that he was set up with this meeting with the margarita glasses and all that stuff. Well, if he's such a dumbass that he sat down and saw the salt on the glasses and he sat down there and had a conversation with this guy, he deserves to look like an idiot. You know, he and his staff are stupid. You know, typical Democrat in government. He should have looked at that table and said, this is crazy. We're not going to do this here. But, you know, he didn't know until after he was exposed in the media for being such a dumbass. He was totally set up. He was set up. So what? He's a dummy by Trump and the president of El Salvador. Fascism. President Trump just won a national election with an overwhelming landslide victory, winning all the battleground states. Well, if you look at the polls, we're very likely to win more seats in the midterms. The polls are in our favor. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the judges do not supervise the President of the United States. They don't have that authority. You know, that's the reality. They don't have. They are well outside their areas of authority. Now, my Newsmax appearance this weekend was recorded a couple days ago, and I did it right here on my back porch, sitting in this chair. I had the chair a little bit back, and the camera was set up differently, a little different view, but when you see me on Newsmax, I'll be sitting in this chair right here on my back porch. I think that's a MAGA bird. Well, we're checking and balancing the federal judges that are out of control. President Trump is repelling an enemy army of barbarians from our country. That's what he's doing, which he is bound to do through his oath as President of the United States. Terrorists don't get due process through the criminal courts. Trinidad and MS-13 are terrorist organizations. But the Garcia, the so-called Maryland man, he's been processed through 2 federal immigration courts who have said he's MS-13, and he should be deported. So, you know, they want the due process to go around in circles until Trump's not in office anymore. That's not going to happen. Yeah, the trolls should be ashamed of themselves, Ryan, in the chat. I agree. I agree. Who's not getting due process? You know, all of a sudden, you know, anytime you hear the liberals praise the Constitution, they're ripping it apart and burning it. You know, because the liberals always tell us, oh, the Constitution should not even apply anymore. It was written by white men, racist, for the purpose of maintaining white supremacy. And now the liberals, the Constitution says this and the Constitution that. They hate the Constitution. They hate the Constitution. And they have no respect for the Constitution. And Pam Bondi's not messing around. Did you see this college spring break girl? She's been charged in the firebombing of Tesla Cybertrucks at a dealership. Listen to this. How old is she? She is like 19 on spring break. And she's facing 20 years in prison. She'll get out when she's about 40. You know, and they got a guy. Let me pull this up. They got a member of Tim Walz's administration in Minnesota keying Teslas. Did you see this? Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's been running around bashing Elon Musk and Tesla while speaking to crowds in recent weeks, has had one person who works under his administration vandalize Teslas. A member of Minnesota, this is in the Daily Mail as well, and in the Gateway Pundit. I'm reading from the Gateway Pundit right now. A member of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's administration has been repeatedly caught on camera vandalizing parked Tesla vehicles with keys while out walking his dog. He's a fiscal policy analyst for the state of Minnesota, captured on vehicle surveillance footage, dragging a key across the exteriors of several Teslas, stripping paint, and causing thousands of dollars in damage. Authorities reportedly arrested him on suspicion of causing an estimated $20,000 in damage, with formal charges still pending to the Minnesota-based Crime Watch account, Crime Watch MPLS on X. Disturbing surveillance videos show him approaching the vehicles from across the street, walking his dog with leash in hand, pulling his keys from his pocket with the other. In one clip, he allegedly carved the rear of a Tesla. In another, he seemingly targeted the side of the vehicle nearest the sidewalk, using his keys to scratch a deep line across the car's body. They got him on videos from the cars doing this. And, you know, you don't mess with people's cars. But when you key a car, it involves major body work, right? If you spray paint a car or something, you might be able to buff that out or just do a quick paint job. And not only is this the value to fix it, do permanent damage to the owner of that car because the value of the car could be reduced. You know, I had this fat ass kid sit on my car hood last year and take a picture for Instagram, and they left a big dent as big as their fat ass on the hood, and the hood had it was shaped in a special way, and they couldn't get the dent out, so I had to replace the hood and get the car painted. Now it was covered by my insurance, and I just had to pay a $500 deductible. So, oh, that's great. So I traded the car in on my new car, and I got dinged on the trade-in value because it wasn't the factory hood. You know, when you do damage like this to someone's car, you're doing more than the cost of the repair. You're reducing the value of the vehicle. It sucks. Because he was a fat kid that did it, high school kid. How do you think he put a big dent in the hood sitting on it? If I sat on the hood, it wouldn't dent it. But, you know, yeah, it cost me a lot on the trade-in. Yeah. And these people going around damaging Teslas, most Teslas are owned by Democrats. Now, you don't mess with people's cars. That's a long tradition in America, going back to the days of the horse thieves. You don't mess with people's transportation. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. It's liberal lunacy, yeah. And they feel so entitled to commit all of this violence, too. That's the crazy part. That's just the crazy part. You know, they feel totally justified in doing it. And why that is, I don't quite know. Now, Tom Homan, you know, these idiots on the left. Let me pull this clip up. I'll play a clip for you here. Hold on. Let me play this audio clip. Tom Homan went on this idiot show, Joe Scarborough, yesterday, and embarrassed Scarborough. Listen.
The administration's admitted it's a mistake. All parties have admitted it's a mistake.
They're talking about he's talking about the deportation of this MS-13 terrorist that beats his wife, the so-called Maryland man.
The administration's admitted it's a mistake. All parties have admitted it's a mistake. Do you admit that it's a mistake? And is this something that should not happen again?
Look, I don't agree with the term that was a mistake. I mean, I know that was put out in the beginning, but looking at this case, there's a couple of things in play here. First of all, it's a mistake because it said he had withholding or removal. Well, the facts surrounding that withholding have changed over the years. For instance, when that decision was made on withholding, he wasn't classified as a terrorist, which he is now. And plus, the conditions of the withholding was a danger of a specific gang in El Salvador. That gang don't exist anymore in El Salvador. Matter of fact, El Salvador is one of the safest nations in the region now because of the actions of President Bukele. So the facts surrounding that decision have changed, and we believe that the withholding order is set aside now that he's a terrorist because it doesn't pertain to those designated terrorists. He is a member of MS-13. 2 federal judges have decided that. We have a police department who documented that. ICE intelligence has documented that. The El Salvadoran government says he's an MS-13 gang member who has since been designated as a terrorist. So the entire condition around that decision have changed. The facts have changed. So we don't think the withholding is in play anymore.
Yeah, plus the MS-13 tattoos on his fingers, that's his confession, don't you think? Is that a confession? I think it is. If you got an MS-13 gang tattoo on your fingers, that's an old tattoo, by the way, because it's faded, that's a confession that you're in MS-13. Now, Mike Cernovich is absolutely amazing. He was on with Benny Johnson. Did you guys see this? And Mike Cernovich says that the deep state in Ukraine plotted the assassination attempts on President Trump.
What should happen if
This is Benny Johnson with Mike Cernovich.
Ukraine is found to have been assisting in the assassination of Donald Trump. And even if this is a low-level military guy, and the 17-year-old that was nabbed, all we know, according to the FBI, was he was communicating with a Ukrainian number that he thought was Ukraine. We said on the show it might have...
So, see, we got 2 Ukrainian connections now. The Butler shooter was talking to somebody on one of his phones in Ukraine, and the golf course shooter here in Florida was in Ukraine and was recruiting American service personnel to fight as mercenaries for Ukraine.
And an undercover agent, who knows? But Ryan Routh was communicating with Ukraine. We know that for sure, because we've seen Ryan Routh on the front lines, holding arms in Ukraine, recruiting for Ukraine, with Ukrainian flags, like fighting in bunkers. Ryan Routh had the connections. He was in Ukraine multiple times. His website's still up, Mike. And so like we know that someone in the Ukrainian military was trying to get him an RPG to blow our president out of the sky.
Yeah.
What the hell? What happens next?
That's a great question. That'll obviously be buried because the implications are too much. Too many Republicans in Congress have contracts off the books. What a lot of people don't realize is, insider trading in Congress is a problem.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's crazy. So we've got 2 major Ukrainian connections to each of the Trump assassins, both Butler and the Florida golf course assassin, and very disturbing. It's very disturbing, and it will come out because Trump's not going to live the rest of his life in fear. He's going to handle all of this and get it all exposed. And this is starting to get out there more and more about the Ukrainian connections to the Trump assassins. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's got to be exposed. I mean, the Ukraine, doesn't matter who started the war or who was the aggressor. Ukraine is connected to both assassination attempts on the president during the campaign, both of them. So that makes Ukraine an enemy of the United States, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, we've got the phone from the Butler assassin. He was communicating with someone in Ukraine. The golf course assassin was in Ukraine, recruiting mercenaries to fight for Ukraine, and he was in contact with Ukrainian government officials trying to get an RPG to shoot down Trump's plane. And the golf course where the assassination happened is literally 1 to 2 miles from the airport where Trump Force One parks, and Air Force One parks there now. So no, there's 2 major, there's Ukrainian connections to both of them. I wish it were not true, but it is. So who's a bigger enemy, Russia or Ukraine? Sounds like Ukraine to me. I know, it's terrible. It's terrible, and this has to be exposed. And I'm glad that Cernovich and Benny Johnson talked about it. I've been talking about this for months, and more people are starting to talk about it. It's got to be exposed. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe, guys. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll have a new podcast later today. All the things I talk about are being widely reported with documents to back them up. It's all there. And all the stories that I talk about, I post to my X account, Brian Craig Show on X. Every story, everything I share and discuss is posted right there. So you can see, if you follow me on X at Brian Craig Show, you can see all the primary sources for everything I talk about. I post it all there, and I leave it up there forever. So you go through my feed on X, everything I discussed is well sourced there. Brian Craig Show on X, that, including that clip I just played with Benny Johnson. Correct. Yeah. No bald spot. You think I'm Tim Pool? I might have bedhead, but no bald spots. No. No, it's crazy. It really is crazy when you think about it, and a lot of people know, including the president, of the Ukraine connections. Well, I think he was so pissed off at Zelensky at the White House. Trump certainly deserves a third term, no doubt about it. Russia is not our enemy. They didn't try to kill the president. Ukraine did, if these stories are true. And the connections are factual. That's right. That's right. It's... Well, you know, liberals are morons. I mean, they just don't understand what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, tomorrow I will be 54 years old tomorrow. Oh boy, I'm not going to have a party. My wife's got some presents for me, which I'm excited to open. But I'm not going to have a big celebration. Maybe when I turn 60 in 6 years I will. Yeah, Russia, we have a long history of being allied with Russia. We defeated the Nazis together. You know, if it wasn't for Russia, World War II would have turned out a lot different. Remember, they kept them busy in the East. They got to Berlin first. How did Ukraine try to kill the president? We've got a connection to each of the assassins. The Butler assassin who was killed that actually shot President Trump, he had multiple cell phones, and in one of his cell phones he was in communication with someone with a Ukrainian phone number. The golf course assassin here in Florida had been to Ukraine and was involved in recruiting ex-U.S. military to sign up and fight as mercenaries for Ukraine, and he was in contact with a Ukrainian government official trying to get Ukraine to give him an RPG so he could shoot Trump Force One out of the sky. So there's a lot of Ukrainian connections. And the Florida assassin used an AK-47, which is the rifle of choice for Ukraine at the beginning of the war. So, you know. No, I don't listen or watch InfoWars or Alex Jones at all. Nope, I don't. So that's a lot of connections. A lot of connections to Ukraine. Because Ukraine knew that Trump comes in office, the war's over. They don't want the war to end. They're making too much money off of it. I don't listen or watch a lot of other people because I don't want to be influenced by what they do. I want to go through the news myself and come to my own conclusion. As I said, everything I talk about, I post the articles or the information to my X, and I leave it up there forever. So if you go through my X, Brian Craig Show, everything I discussed is sourced right there. Multiple sources, and oftentimes documents. So that's that. And I leave everything on X forever. I don't delete any of the stories. So you can go back for years on my X, and everything I'm talking about is right there. We're in the Matrix. Yeah, I know. I feel that way. We've been red-pilled. We've woken up out of the Matrix when Trump came down the escalator, right? I don't really care what Russia has done. It's not our war. Yeah. It's not our war. It's not our business. That's what Marco Rubio said the other day. It's not our war. Welcome from Miami. This country has been red-pilled, and those deep state Ukrainian assassination attempts on the president red-pilled millions of Americans. Trump still would have won, but he won bigger because everybody, when they shot Trump, especially when they tried to shoot him the second time, People are like, wow, this is crazy. No, it's just crazy, and it is. You know, you would think with all the news and information sources that's out there now that they would be a little more low-key, but they're not. Oh, Trump's very good at negotiating. Very good at negotiating. He does a great job. I don't think Trump should listen to the Supreme Court. I don't think they have supervisory authority over the president. And he should continue to repel these invading terrorist armies from our country. That's what I think. I think they are outside their area of authority. And I'm not alone. A lot of people feel that way. You don't know the Constitution then, sir. Anybody who ends a sentence in sir is not a native English speaker. So I'm not going to listen to a foreigner tell me how the United States Constitution operates. Yeah. Whenever you see sir in a sentence, you're looking at a non-native English speaker. It's a dead giveaway. Not an American or British even. They teach sir like when people are in other countries are learning English, they teach them to use sir, dear sir, sir this, sir that. Americans don't speak that way unless they're in the service, you know. No, not in a sentence like that. Nope. I have left the country many, many times. I was just out of the country 2 weeks ago. Well, I don't need to listen to some redcoat in the UK about how the Constitution operates either. We have a Constitution and Declaration of Independence to separate us from the redcoats. I'm talking about standard American English. You don't use sir like that in sentences, especially in a casual chat that's in shorthand. It's a dead giveaway. Kool-Aid sounds good. Maybe I'll get some Kool-Aid today. We have been invaded. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But the invaders are being repelled by President Trump, thankfully. Oh, at least 20 million. At least. Midterms are coming. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We have an election every 2 years. Now, again, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks.